Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the greatest show on earth. No, I'm joking. It's only us three as normal. I am Judge Volio. I have obviously accompanied, as always, by the one and only Judge Ewok.
Afternoon, everyone.
And somewhere on the screen above me, I believe, and slightly over, is the one and only old man Judge Junky. How we doing?
Wow. Yeah, right. A bit tired, but let's do this shit.
Yeah,
Pumped.
let's get it on.
Ready.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get straight in. There's so much to talk about this week. Dive in. First and foremost, let us apologise for our small hiatus that we took last week, and we know we're a little bit late coming out with this, but there is a reason why, chat and viewers and listeners and everybody else. That is because, obviously, there has been an influx, a smorgasbord of new releases for us to get our teeth into, as well as all the news. Well, should we just start off and get his Kleenex out the way? Destiny 2, Witch Queen. I hand it over to all Junkie.
Okay. All right. Let's sort of keep this on topic. So before I proverbially spat my load about Destiny 2, we'll do some news segments. So first and foremost, news. Destiny 2. Yesterday we had Raid Day. Raid Day was completed by Elysium Squad, back-to-back winners. They got the first completion, slowly followed by always the bridesmaid, never the bride, Glad, and his team, who lost by 3 minutes. The raid looked pretty good. It was plagued by bongo instants, anteater, guitar, bat, all the usual suspects, no baboons. So that was fun. I managed to watch a bit in work. Witch Queen itself, we'll get into in a bit, is brilliant. Probably the best Destiny expansion I've played after Taken King, which is high praise. So I don't want to get too much into Destiny. We'll save that for the smorgasbord of main topic. Let's carry on with some more news.
Yeah, congratulations to Clan Elysium back to back.
Yeah,
that's some achievement. That well done, guys. Well played. Other news. Where are we? Well, let's talk about Halo Infinite. Season 2 news and details have been released. So it's going to be called. Yeah, I know. It's exciting. It's going to be called Lone Wolves. It's going to concentrate on a couple of Spartans, and it's coming with a couple more game modes as well. So, Last Spartan Standing, which is free for all, Land Grab, which I'm not quite sure what that's going to entail, but it might be like the Battlefield and Battlefront modes where you're pushing forward and you're grabbing your points and then moving on, which would be very interesting. There's going to be another big team battles map called the Breaker, and it's looking like they're finally kind of getting their feet on the ground properly and getting running with it for season 2. And we know the cooperative gameplay is coming to the campaign at some point in season 2 as well. They haven't said it's going to be at the start, but they have said it will be in season 2, which I'm looking forward to immensely.
Just to pick up there, though, you did say, obviously, and something I've done a little bit of reading is you mentioned the Last Spartan Standing there and a free-for-all. Now, we all know what normal free-for-all modes are. You drop in, first to 25 kills, away you go. Last Spartan Standing is a spin on a Battle Royale-esque style, where literally you will have 3 lives. Once you've lost those 3 lives and you've been eliminated, you don't get come back in. And then they're talking about keeping the sort of same size map as a big team battle map, which makes it interesting because they're not having to go out and make any extra worlds or maps or live services. They can literally just drop you into those big team battle worlds that we've seen already. But then there is enough space in there to get into small pockets of skirmishes without being interfered by other games or fights going on. So it's going to be hella interesting to see how that comes out.
Yeah, you could be a lot more tactical on those big team battle maps rather than like a smaller team deathmatch map, couldn't you? If you were playing free for all, that definitely interests me. That actually.
To be fair, Halo needs something. Something.
They are also bringing back King of the Hill as well.
So this might bring me back. I mean, when Halo was originally announced, I was quite hyped. I mean, we talked about it at length on the podcast, and they're usually more hyped than I was, but I was hyped. Xbox was my first next-gen console, the original, and Halo was my first sort of taster of that. What Combat Evolved, it literally was Combat Evolved could be. So I was quite like, oh my god, Halo Infinite, this looks like what I need to get me back into it. Like the biggest thing I thought since ODST did for the genre. And I'm not gonna lie, I've not felt it myself personally. I know you enjoyed the campaign. I've not played it. I think it's because there's been so many other things on the horizon, and I'm a big Destiny fan, so Bungie has captured my heart, and 343 has sort of struggled to retain that momentum. Like it's always struggled to capture it, and I think they did a great job with Infinite. So maybe season 2 will be the one that brings me in.
To be honest, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I mean, people that listen and watch our streams, mine and Ewoks, both know how massive Halo fans we are. More on the bandwagon, some of us later than other. However, I can openly say, yes, I was a little disappointed with Infinite. I haven't sat on the multiplayer as much as I had expected to. I haven't really cared about the little one-off events for like samurai armor that they've done and stuff like that. It's just not drawn me in. The fact that they were missing some of the major game modes out the gate, and some what I call classic style Halo maps, it felt very samey. The maps you were rotating through, and it just, I think there's still a hell of a lot that they need to do with it. I mean, what Halo 3 on launch had 16 multiplayer maps. Okay, they varied from size, so they could do big team battle or small or whatever, but 16 maps out on disc. I think there's a total of 8 or 12 on Infinite. It's ridiculous.
Big team battle feels like you're playing on the same map every single.
Well, you are.
Twice. Just so hopefully season 2 will see the start of them kind of getting their feet under the table and really kind of, giving the content that the old school Halo fans want to see, and that's going to kind of make the new Halo fans fall in love even more. I'm excited for it, but as I say, mainly excited for the campaign co-op.
Definitely. Which, no doubt, the minute it drops, you will see a collab Fire and Fair run through on Legendary.
You'll see me crying in a corner. Why am I dying? Yeah, looking forward to that.
With the co-op, have we confirmed? Is it 2-player co-op or is it four-player co-op? Oh, you might see an old man Junky jump in there as well. Then
cancel playthrough. Cancel plays Halo.
I might actually save my virgin playthrough because I've only actually done the first mission. I'm literally a touchdown on Zeta Ring and I've not played it since. So I might just wait and do the whole thing.
Maybe we should wingman you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Exactly. So we look forward to, guys.
Yeah. With new releases, Gran Turismo 7 dropped the other day.
Yeah, good old Gran Turismo. Having been teased with GT for so long, but then absolutely overindulged on Forza, I kind of think the GT launch was a little weakened. However, that some could perceive that's because I'm an Xbox fanboy and not really a PlayStation. But don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore the Gran Turismo games. I think they look stunning. I think they've done massive things. And if we're all honest with ourselves, before Forza, there was Gran Turismo. You were sitting there playing Gran Turismo 1, Gran Turismo 2 on multi-disc, GT3 A-Spec. We've all been there. We've all done it. And that's what we kind of cut our teeth on, the driving games, them and Colin McRae Dirt and stuff like that. For me, I don't think it's come out the traps as good as it should have.
It's a weird one because Sony never sort of missed an opportunity to be like, wow, look at this bombastic, blah, 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 all over the place. Look at this amazing advert. Look at this gameplay. Look at this blah, blah, blah. So what we've had Horizon, which was all over the shop. Obviously, we'll have Spider-Man will do the same when it comes out. trying to think of what other games are due out with Sony this year that are big. God of War, that's going to be everywhere. You'll see it plastered absolutely everywhere. Even like Uncharted, the film, was getting like, crossover Sony, Uncharted, Lost Legacy, the Super Duper Edition sort of crossover adverts. Look at this, get this. Last of Us 2, same. But I've not seen anything on Gran Turismo 7. In fact, if I didn't have two friends that were like, big Gran Turismo fans, I wouldn't even known Gran Turismo was out.
Yeah.
And part of me thinking, is this because of Mark Kearney originally stating that, going backwards and making games for both platforms, cross-platform, would be a big no-no and would, hold back the power of the PS5. And then obviously they didn't roll back on that. They just didn't even say anything about it. They just said just one day everything was going to be on PS4 and PS5. And then I think with Horizon as the same sort of thing, it's been slowly cross-developed for both platforms, like retrospectively. This needs to work on PS4. Is this not as good because it's been held back for PS4 as well as PS5? Is that why? I don't know. I'm not going to play the game. I've got no dog in this race. I'm not a Forza fan. I think it looks lovely. It's just not my type of game. So again, it's the same thing. But even the people I know that have played the game have said it's all right. And these are people that like Gran Turismo comes out and they're like it's their FIFA, their COD. They eat, breathe, sleep Gran Turismo, and they're just like, yeah, it's good.
You see, I think one of the big things that Gran Turismo have done, which Forza haven't, is they went heavily into the virtual racing esports market to the point where there is the Gran Turismo World Cup, where you have drivers from all over the world going to one venue, meeting up, and they will do the full simulation races there in the full rigs and everything. And you don't see that with Forza. Now, whether it's because Microsoft don't want to go down that route, because let's be honest, that's a whole jar of worms at once that lid comes off. Yeah. But ultimately, I think you're right. It's to us, Forza is two clear-cut variants. You have Forza Horizon, which is your arcade Need for Speedy style, pick up and play, anyone can play, open world driving game. Not racing, but driving game. It's not all just race.
Yeah.
And then you've got Gran Turismo. You've got Forza Horizon Motorsport, which is your circuit-based, more simulation-style racing. A couple of years ago, Gran Turismo acquired the WRC license, the FIA F1 license, the World Rally Championship license, the Rallycross license, the NASCAR license, and the stock car license. And you thought, oh shit, okay, and the World Karting license as well. And you thought, oh shit, okay, we're going to get a good game here. And to be fair, it gives you the ability to rank up through the different genres of racing and so forth. And you thought, okay. But then right behind it in its shadows were Project Cars, Assetto Corsa, every other racing game under the sun. Even to an extent, the old Grid was in there still in the mix. And you're just like, well, we know Codemaster know how to make a racing game. And, there are plenty of racing games out there. So what is now setting Gran Turismo apart? And it was always that, because this is the more realistic racer. This is as pretty much, we're not going for the console markets anymore. We're putting ourselves on the same pedestal as iRacer and those. We're in that esport racing league now. And I think, for pardon the pun, but the foot's come off the gas a little bit, slipped off the pedal, and now they found themselves back in the console market and gone, oh, we don't want to be with them because we think we're too good for them. And they've been found out.
I mean, I got to watch one of my followers on Facebook. He was streaming it over on Twitch the other day, so I jumped over and gave him a little bit of support and watched his stream. So Hezbag, nice one, buddy. And he was playing, and at first glance, and I don't know if it was stream quality or anything like that, because the stream quality looked okay. But I was like, I'm struggling to see the visual improvements from Sport. Sport looked nice. Sport looked very nice and looked, very clean cut. But, and I'm coming back to what Junky said before, I wonder how much development across both generations has kind of just held that back a touch rather than kind of going right. We're just going to make it PS5 exclusive. And then obviously the comparisons to Forza Horizon just don't meet up because they're completely different. The real comparison is going to be later on in the year. We've discussed this before.
Yeah.
Forza Motorsport 8 drops, and I think they're holding out on Forza Motorsport 8 because we're not going to see that on Xbox One.
I'm totally with you on that. I totally agree.
Yeah.
So I think we'll actually see the next gen. But for what GT is, it looks nice. It's it's got the licenses and some of them are ridiculous as always. But as Junky said, I didn't see any adverts for it at all. I remember seeing loads for sport. And it's just very strange, as Junky said, how like they pushed like Horizon Forbidden West and a few others. And the first I heard was like, someone's playing it on Twitch.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's literally, I have been watching YouTube videos over the last couple of days, mainly Crit Roll, and it'll just pop up in one of them adverts. You leave the lights going out, you'll see a couple of cars flying past, and it's like, oh, Gran Turismo 7. You're like, oh, is that how is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just very strange, as Junky said, very, very strange. That this is their flagship racing game, and the advertising for it. I mean, you could say, because I'm mainly an Xbox player, I don't keep an eye out for PlayStation adverts.
Yeah.
I see adverts, for everything on TV, but I'm watching TV. I don't need to buy a kettle, but I see an advert for one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've not seen anything. And
I mean, it's
been a bit strange.
It's obviously still got its base. It's done really well. Its review scores are still high 9s and 10s, that type of thing. Yeah. Interestingly, its Metacritic score, and this is something Paul Tassi touched on in an article, was 89, which is good. It's great. 89 is not a bad score. But we and this is what this article was all about. He's touching on like how developers now or publishers are looking at Metacritic scores, and it's not like high 90s or 9 out of 10. They're like, it's deemed as a critical failure. And I think it's something, like, I agree with him on this point. It's something we need to step back from. Fair enough. Like, if it scored less than its predecessor, it's not ideal. But if it's still up there, it's still good, isn't it? You can't.
Yeah.
You can't expect to just keep getting bit. There needs to be a ceiling, and sometimes you will drop the ball. But also, people's tastes change as well.
Yeah.
I think it looked very, very good. I just struggled to see the visual improvement.
I was just about to touch on that. Something, right, that stuck in my mind is, we all spoke about it on an earlier podcast. When Horizon 5 dropped, Ewok came out with a statement, and he said, I didn't think they could improve any more on Horizon 4, but they have, and you can see it. When somebody that's grown up playing Gran Turismo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the in-between games, whatever the last one was, and you can turn around and you can say, I've seen progression each time, but then you get to this and you're like, you might as well just copy and paste it, the last one, and change a few card decals up and stuff like that. That ain't good. That's not a good sign.
I mean, admittedly, I was watching it on a stream as well, 1080p, 60 FPS. If I saw it on 4K on a PS5, I might be blown away by it, but I can't comment to that. All I can say is, watching it, the quality, I couldn't notice anything that would be greatly improved, like if I was playing it in first person. But as Junky says, it got 89. It's obviously a very good game, and from what I saw, it looked like a very good racing game. And if I had, if I had a PS5, I'd probably look at getting it. I'm playing it because I do like. I've always liked the Gran Turismo thing, but I probably wouldn't want to get it from a PS4. No. I don't know why that is.
Just to pick up on what you said there quickly, though, when we're expecting Motorsport 8 being next gen only, what we mean by that is X and S only. So you wouldn't see it on your standard Xbox X. It would be your Series X, Series S, because we know they're no longer manufacturing the older ones. So anyway,
I know that's not been confirmed, but that would be my expectation with it releasing later on in this year.
Enough smell of burning rubber.
Right, a bit more news before we go on to our main topic. So, Stalker 2, unfortunately, for very sad reasons, has been put on a indefinite hiatus due to the war in Ukraine. Obviously, the developers are Ukrainian, I believe, or from that region. And they said that obviously their families and everything else comes before the game, which we completely agree with.
100% understandable.
100% solidarity. Takes like if the game doesn't go out for another 10 years, I will not be bothered. Their safety and everyone's safety in Ukraine and all the devastating effects that are going on over there are of paramount importance to us here at the council, and we stand in solidarity with Ukraine. We ran a small competition on our page. Well, not competition. It was like we ran a thing on our page the other day. Basically, if someone gave a donation of over £1, €1, or $1 to Sunflower Peace, which is a Ukrainian war charity helping the refugees, then we would give out a code for a Steam game. So far, someone did donate. I think they donated £10 to Sunflower Peace, and they bagged themselves a copy of Mafia Free Definitive Edition for Steam. So that was nice. But check out our Instagram page and feel free to donate to the charity, and then just DM us with a confirmation of that donation, and you'll get a Steam code sent out to you. Don't know what you get, but any little helps. It's just one little thing we're doing for the effort. Like after that somber piece,
100% agree with everything that Junky said there. One last bit of news before we jump into the whole major releases or Grand Theft Auto.
Mm-hmm.
Next gen updates dropping on March 15th, apparently. So they announced this a couple of days ago. And they'll have a couple of video graphical improvements and fidelity improvements. They've got a ray tracing at 30 FPS on next-gen consoles, which will probably look very nice when you're standing still. If Cyberpunk's ray tracing is anything to go by, it'll look gorgeous when you're standing still. Yeah. But when you move, you will notice the drop in frames.
Oh god, yeah.
Then you've got basically performance modes, which apparently is going to target 60 FPS at upscaled 4K on PS5 and 1080p 60 frames on Series X and Series S.
Might be time to reinstall GTA.
I haven't found anything on this, but I think it's not a reinstall. Don't quote me on it. But if you remember the upgrade from Xbox 360 to Xbox One, PS3 to PS4, you had to buy the game again. I can't find any confirmation at the moment. I probably have to look on the store because I literally came across this just a few minutes before we were due to go live.
So you could end up back on the store having to buy GTA 5 Series X edition for $49.99, $59.99, whatever it is, but get a free shark card.
You can transfer your existing characters from GTA Online, and you can transfer your existing saves, but you need to upload your save to the Rockstar social thingy. From the sounds of it,
that screams buy again.
Nah, I'm good. My policy on this is the same as my policy on Skyrim: once and not again.
I will post this whilst I'm in the editing. I will look for confirmation of that, and I'll put it on the screen for you guys to know. I will see what I can find, but there's nothing in the article that I've seen that says anything about this is a free upgrade for existing, or you'll have to buy it. It just says it drops March 15th, and it gives a few details on existing saves and graphical fidelity and stuff like that. So it will be very interesting to see, because I have bought it twice. I don't think I'd want to buy it again.
No.
So we'll see. Hopefully it is a free upgrade, but we'll see. So, yeah.
Cool. I think that concludes news.
I was going to say, like a well-lubed up transition. We'll just slide into my DMs on that note. Right, so obviously there's been a plethora of new releases. I know these two are itching at the bit to start talking about Elden Ring and Wrath of the Witch Queen, or whatever we're calling it, Destiny. But I'm just going to pip them to the post first. because this one's not as big, to be honest with you. So I've been playing one of the new releases that dropped this week. Funny enough, we were talking about racing games. I've been getting my teeth into Grid Legends. Now,
Ooh, okay.
Grid Legends is made by Codemaster, who were purchased by EA. So you've now got the development studios that have done the Need for Speed games for so many years and have the rights to Grid. And let's be honest with ourselves, Grid are probably some of the best racing games away from the likes of Forza and Gran Turismo. And then you pair them with Codemaster, who have, to my knowledge, have done nothing but racing games for the last umpteen years. And you've got a little bit of gem on your hands. Now, I will be streaming it this week. Okay, this will be my Tuesday night stream. So, as you guys are watching this today, if you're watching this today, Monday, oh, hello, then tomorrow night is streaming. If you're watching it Tuesday, tonight is stream. If you're watching it Wednesday, you missed it, go back and watch it again. But I've only played the first hour because A, I haven't purchased it. I'm on the trial, I'll admit. And B, I didn't want to spoil any more for myself. Now, when it opens up and it's a live video sequence, and you're going, oh, okay, a bit like the old school Need for Speeds, like the Most Wanteds and the Hot Pursuits and stuff like that, where you've actually got a filmed scene ongoing, or a bit like they did with the career modes with F1 previously. It kind of drew me straight in early on. I was buying into the story. And then it goes on a little bit more and a little bit more, and it introduces you, and the customization options in there were good. And then you get down to the driving, and the driving style, for me personally, and obviously this is a personal thing now, worked to me for a T. Like, it wasn't that over-the-top simulation style, but it wasn't complete arcadey style. It was like fine-tuning your settings on Forza Horizon to the part where you can get the car to do what you want, but it's still putting up a bit of a fight, so there's still some skill in using it. And my God, it looks gorgeous.
I've downloaded it, but I have yet to dip into the trial because I've been playing a few other things. But yeah, I used to love Grid. The first Grid, I remember that kind of the feel of that was absolutely spot on for the time. I love the kind of the graphical. What's the word I'm looking for? The aesthetic that they used on that first Grid. It looked so good. It was almost like a little bit dirty, but it just fit. And played a little bit of Grid 2. Didn't have the same feel, but I'm excited to give a go at this trial because it'd be good to jump back into a game like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it just has a different feel from the likes of Forza and Gran Turismo. You guys know how much I love Forza. But I'm excited. I've got a 10-hour trial sitting there. It's on the hard drive. It's ready to go. But I might get to it this week, I think. So I'll give my opinions next time.
Are we finished all our fucking car games?
Somebody like the laptop. I'm going to go and take a coffee break while he rambles, and when somebody just signal me when he's winding down, I'll come back.
Well, before I get into full flow ramble, I'll talk about the other hot release that's been, it's been pretty much, considering how big it was, like leading up to it, it's been massively overlooked by and overshadowed by everything else that came immediately afterwards. Of course, I am talking about Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah.
even Ben was like, "Oh shit, yeah, that came out, yeah." I remember.
That was the thing. That was another Sony thing. Another Sony thing that slipped by. Oh well, must be my green tinted glasses.
So much to some listeners' chagrin, I dusted off my PS5 that shamelessly sits there unused, whilst so many people can't get one. I sincerely apologise. I should use it. I should use it more. So I got it. I got Forbidden West, and yeah, it's good. I played a little bit of it. It's more of the same. It looks very pretty. I will say, there were a few tiny niggles, nothing massive. And this is like a dig at like both consoles, really, Xbox and PS5. I'm starting to fit. I'm of the school of thought. I know some of my friends off podcast are as well. This generation was sold to us as this is where 60 FPS becomes like the norm, where like ray tracing will be here, and to still be at the point where I'm at my 1X settings where I'm basically getting told performance or quality. I'm sort of like, why should I? Why am I doing this? It's starting to become a bit of a fucking niggle now. So fair enough. I don't mind like the ray tracing, but I just think 60 FPS should be it.
Should be standard.
It's
think
okay.
Minimum.
I'm happy doing 30 frames per second with ray tracing because even on PC, unless you've got like super duper card, it's still a struggle to get that ray tracing in place. So I get that, but I think 4K native 4K 60 frames per second, that should be benchmark. That should be standard now for both consoles. And why it isn't?
Yeah, that's true.
So I played on quality first. That's locked at 30 frames per second, and it was like ghosting. I know I'm sure someone said there's been an update, but this is after the day one patch. It was ghosting about. I'd roll and I'd just about see like an image of Aloy where I was, and I was like, yeah, I'm going on to quality mode. And then to be fair to PlayStation, quality mode is fantastic. 60 frames per second.
Performance
No ghost. Yeah, sorry, performance. 60 frames per second. And apart from like a little more sort of exposure, it's not too bad. I couldn't really tell much of a difference. The game itself, when I played that, I thought looked really good. And I've recently seen I think it's a Digital Foundry comparison where they compared it to Valhalla, and Valhalla looks better than Forbidden West. And I think that's largely because of the color schemes they've used. I think it's too vibrant in places, and it sort of takes away from the aesthetic. And my only other criticism of the game is that you can climb this wall because it has yellow stones. It's like that gamey feel. I don't want it to feel like that. I want a more sort of like unique, not Breath of the Wild immersion where you can literally climb anything. But I don't want to, I don't want to be sort of cut off by all these walls you can't climb on. This wall you can because it's got 5 yellow bricks on it. I think we're getting beyond that. We're getting past that. But on the whole, really good game from what I've played so far. I'm looking forward to getting into it. The dinosaurs and the way the enemies move, that's the big sort of set piece. The fluidity of the combat is fantastic. And visually, it's beautiful. And it's got good scores. So, yeah, looking forward to getting into that properly when I finally get a chance.
Unfortunately, I don't own a PlayStation, so I'll be reduced to watching people's streams, aka Mr. Ewok, if he decides to buy it. But I did actually watch him play the first Horizon, and I fell in love watching it because it's a beautiful game to watch.
I just think the first one, I absolutely loved it. Obviously, played it through start to finish on stream. Absolutely loved it. But that's on my PS4. And after the whole Cyberpunk debacle with last gen consoles not playing so well, I'm not sure that I want to get it on the PS4. I want to kind of see how it, see how the next couple of months go and see what the reports are from PS4 players, all that kind of thing, and then make a decision, because I don't want to buy it and then find that it's graphically not up to par, because the first one was beautiful. I mean, graphically, I think it was well ahead of its time. Even now, it looks better than some games that have released in the last year. But I don't want them to have kind of like left out certain parts of the game because the PS4 can't handle them, or downplayed certain graphics or certain interactions because the engine is just not capable of running it on PS4. So I'm going to see how it goes. But I hope that it's good news, and that in a couple of months I can go, right, you know what, I'm going to jump on that and we'll stream it. And
like, I I feel like you know we talk about, we are sort of biased towards Xbox on the podcast. So I will say, like, it sounds like I'm being negative against the game because I've pointed out the things I do not like about the game, but that's only because, and I will reiterate, the original game, as you both said, was fantastic. You both loved it.
Yeah.
This is more of the same, and that's completely fine. I've got no issues with that. I'm happy it's more of the same. The formula is great. They've made little improvements to combat. The enemies look better. There's more enemies. Everything they did right, they've done more of. So there's no complaints there.
Yeah.
So there's not really much for me to talk about. It's a brilliant game. It looks fantastic. It runs fantastic. And the only other criticism I'd say, and it's not against the game, it's against Sony, is the stupid fucking pricing model. You're ripping off your fans. There's been a debacle again about the next gen sort of upgrades. So loads of people went out and bought the PS5 version, for like myself included, for £69.99, when they could have bought the PS4 version and got a free upgrade to the PS5 version. But no one told them about
You
this.
what?
Yeah.
You had to buy it on the PS4. You couldn't buy the PS4 version on your PS5. You had to buy it on the PS4 or on the online store.
Or by the disc-based PS4 game.
Or by the disc-based PS4 game and put that in. But on the PS5, you were restricted to just buying the PS5 version for an extra £10, I think it was.
Sony, sort out your fucking pricing models. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's harmful to the consumer. You're literally punishing your base because you know that they'll just, like, you know, Sony, tunnel vision, Sony. And I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right.
No.
Rant over.
But I, mean, I did see something on on Twitter, as always, where someone was actually complaining about, they've just like reused the same animations when Aloy's doing certain things. So I was like, well, why wouldn't they? Why would Aloy change the way that she does things in between? If this is how she jumped off a cliff in the first game, that's going to be how she jumps off a cliff anyway. If this is how she fires a bow, that's how she's going to fire. She's not going to go, you know what, I need to relearn how to do this. As Junky said, they did stuff really, really well in the first game.
Yeah.
And they went, that works. Let's keep using it. But let's improve on the graphics, let's improve on the story. It looks amazing on PS5, but I'm worried about the PS4. But coming on to that, just before we head into the whole main two games, we did say we'd touch on Cyberpunk and talking about the old gen, next gen. I've had a chance to play. I finished my old save because I was at the point of no return. And then I started a new save with the new update. And
whereas I just dived straight in with the new update.
Yeah.
And I've not played it.
What a different... I had no problems on the old gen. I was very, very lucky. I had no problems. But with the new update, the city feels more alive. The cars feel better handling. It just feels like a better game and a better environment, a better city to be in, to be playing in. What they've done has worked tremendously well. And I'm looking forward to playing through a whole new playthrough of the same story with a totally different feel to the environment that I'm playing in.
I feel quite honoured the fact that I've decided to pick it up, and I'm getting what maybe should have been the experience of the box first time round. So I'm getting to experience Cyberpunk as should have been, and not the tainted version. So, feeling quite lucky with that one. And from what I've played, my God, CD Projekt Red know how to make a game.
Yeah.
I'm excited to eventually start playing it. I'm same as you, Ben. Well, slightly different. I bought it for Christmas, put it on, played the first sort of opening storyline mission to get into the city, and then I went, right, that's enough. I'm happy. I'll wait until the next gen update comes out, and I've not touched it since. But I've not had a chance to jump back in because of February, the dreaded month of releases. When every company thinks, Christ, I need to get my game out in February so it wins Game of the Year in December.
Yeah. Moving on then, should we try and redeem Sony at the moment? Because they've bought this company now. And this company have been peddling the same game for the last 6 years almost, feels like. So my question is, ultimately, because it is cross-platform, and I have sunk a lot of hours into both Destiny 1 and 2, why is it taking them 6 years to get it right?
Well, it's a hard one because for me personally, as probably arguably probably the biggest one, making an argument, definitively the biggest Destiny fan here. I think they had it right. I think they had it right with Destiny 1. At the end of like Destiny 1's lifespan, it was there. It was, this is what we were sort of promised, what we expected. Obviously, barring, next gen updates and all the things that come with that. For the time, for the place it was at, it was, peak. That was Destiny. That was like, this is the game everyone wanted. It was like shooter RPG. It was that perfect formula. Everything seemed right. Taken King got it right, and then we went to Wrath Machine, Rise of Iron, which just like give us more of the same, a bit more, and everyone loved it. Everyone thought it was great, and then obviously Activision came along and said, no, you need to make Destiny 2 now. We need to get people. You need to keep people on this bus. We need to get more players in. We need to go mainstream, and that's where it sort of fell apart. They wanted to be everything to everyone. They brought out Destiny 2, and it just felt like a few steps backwards.
Mhm.
And I think in this respect, it's what's when I look at what Destiny 1 to Destiny 2 did, it's how I look at Square Enix now. When Square Enix are making games now, they're trying to appeal to like a massive broad base instead of their core base.
Mhm.
And that's great. People will buy your game day one and go, oh, this is brilliant. And then day two, they'll go, yeah, backlog. Stop playing it. And that's what happened in Destiny 2. Everyone fell off. Everyone that they brought in, because they tried to be a jack of all trades, they tried to tailor it to every single person and his dog, and then people stopped playing it.
Oh, well,
And then
that's exactly what happened to me. I
then
smashed hours in Destiny 1 and got into Destiny 2, smashed hours into it again, did the Red War, did Forsaken, did right the way through. Arse of Forsaken, you thought, it's all building up, it's going to be amazing. And they announced Beyond Light, and it just all faded away. It was just nothing.
I mean, before we even got to like Forsaken, obviously we had the destitute years of Curse of Osiris and
I was there, man.
Warmind.
I saw some stuff.
Warmind, God, they were content drought heavy. They were horrendous. That was akin to like vanilla Destiny for me. It was worse than vanilla Destiny. But yeah, they lost the new base that they brought along with them, and then they lost the core base for a long time. So Beyond Light, new subclass, the darkness finally emerging, season rivals, hitting all the right notes, building up that hype that Destiny does, showing those videos with the stasis and everyone. Oh my god! I remember watching Beyond Light at E3 and just going, "That's going to be so broken." And it was stasis was like for 18 months the stupidest thing in the game, and like they just couldn't get a handle on it. They couldn't like balance anything. They always struggled balancing things in this game. And then with little decisions like the content vaults taking paid content away from people.
Oh.
And then people turn around and go, well, it's actually in the contract that they're allowed to do that you signed when you bought the game because it's live service. And I was just like, shut up, you prat. But that being said, it did get to a point where like it felt better. They nerfed and started balancing more things. They started like balancing PvE and PvP separately. So guns that felt good in PvE didn't feel crazy in PvP. I mean, there still is issues. There are a lot of issues, and there always will with this type of game. And this is why I'm excited for the Sony purchase, because I feel like the money, the teams will get bigger. Hopefully, we'll start seeing these quality of life improvements that have always hampered the game since day one. Well, and since they've left Activision.
Yeah, I mean, you're bitching about game hampering. You're a dirty punter in PvP. I don't even want to talk to you right now.
But Witch Queen is returned to form.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Admittedly, as a fan, I got hyped, but my hopes were sort of like grounded, like leveled. I wasn't expecting much. I thought Void 3.0 might be a bit broken and it'll probably ruin the game. And then I thought the campaign will be more akin to like Beyond Light again. They've already tailored expectations and said it probably won't be as big as Beyond Light or Forsaken. More like just a bit bigger than Shadowkeep. And I've had the opportunity to play through the Legendary campaign solo, and I did it start and finish in about 2 days, and I absolutely loved it. For the first time in a long time, it actually feels like a proper intuitive campaign. Every mission feels like a mission. It feels like they recaptured the essence of like what they did when they were making Halo, where it feels like a full grounded story with consequences. And like I was shocked. There were parts of that story that physically shocked me. And I didn't. This is something not.
Don't think it's
I'm not.
another-
No spoilers. No spoilers. No, Ben's not had a chance to play it fully yet. But I was shook. This is the first time in a long time Destiny has had that power over me, and that's before we even get into anything else, such as Void 3.0 rework, which is fantastic, and fairly balanced. I know people will say it's not, but it's nowhere near as bad as what Stasis was when that came out.
No, you're right there. I'll jump in now, right? So for me, Witch Queen, okay, I'm a massive Destiny fan. I have been. I've run with Annoyed Raiders, now the clan, for a long time. Admittedly, Destiny 1, we had the BHD clan. There was myself, Lama Spotty, Pete Banana. We all used to run together. That fizzled out and rolled into Destiny 2. We tried to get it, going back in again. With the addition of a few other people, Gareth Hawk, Rabbit Squirrel. They ran a lot of raids with us. Ryan was in there as well. I remember doing the original Wrath of the Machines and stuff like that, pulling my hair out, but we did it on like on 19th attempt or some shit like that. And I have always played Titan. That is me. Because the Titan model, let's not beat around the bush, is Master Chief. It's the Master Chief gameplay. And I like that. I can control that. That suits me. It's the easiest transition. Let's say if you're going to do, like in sort of difficulty level, easy, medium, hard, the Titans are easy. The Warlocks are the medium, the Hunters are the hard. We know this, okay? So if you end up playing Hunter, you usually are just eat, breathe, sleep, shit. Destiny, that is you. And for me, going into Destiny 2, I always kind of grinded my teeth over the fact of how much they were charging for the content. And then they started doing that thing where they were sunsetting weapons, where they'd nerf them so they were absolutely pointless. And then they were they would started vaulting your paid content, and it did grind on me. And then when you saw all the adverts start dropping for the second legacy of content, so Beyond Light and Witch Queen and whatever's coming in the future, like I think it's going to be called, is the next one. When they're already putting pricing points out, and bear in mind you have already paid on launch $39.99 to $49.99 for your game, then there's $11.99 for every season, and then there's 35 quid to 25 quid, give or take, average for a set of content. They're now giving you the option to go, well, maybe for 80 quid and we'll throw in this 30th anniversary pack as well, but for £100 you can have, the next 4 seasons of content in there as well. We'll give you the next 4 seasons of whatever we're going to run with the story arc of the Witch Queen, and you'll get the 30th anniversary stuff. And, if you're a hardcore Destiny player like Old Man Junky, it's going to pay off for you in the long run. But if you're like me, that just was in there for the narrative, because after so long, everything else just became a grind, then I can't condone the 35 quid. That is until you actually load up Witch Queen. And then suddenly, everything that you plugged in that day one when you loaded up Destiny and you were like, holy shit, this game's amazing, comes flooding back in one nostalgia wave. My God. And this is me now, Volio, shouting out to anyone that had Destiny, uninstalled it, and hasn't touched it in a long time. Come back. The light is waiting for you. It is warm. And we need your help.
Yeah, so my plan was I wasn't going to get it at launch. I wasn't. I was going to, a little bit down the line, probably pick it up. And I was at Junkies, and Junky's wife boots up Destiny 2 Witch Queen, and I'm watching her play through the first couple of missions, and I'm like, this looks good. I might do the opening missions and see how far it lets me get, before I buy the content.
Yeah, that.
So I got home that night and I started the first couple of missions, and it was like, yeah, I can't wait a few weeks. I needed to know what was happening in this story. It's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm in. I am in, and I finished the story. I didn't play through on Legendary because I'm not as hardcore as Junky. But so I played it through on Classic.
I've started on Legendary.
We'll get you to. So I played through the story, and as Junky said, there are moments in there where you're just like, what? Hang on. No spoilers, but there are moments where you're literally going to question a lot of the past lore and what you come to believe and what you come to know from Destiny. And, the Guardians and the Light and the Traveller and all of that.
Well,
there's going to be a lot of questions.
It was already in the adverts, and for anyone that watched any of the release of anything to do with Witch Queen coming on, they already showed us in the world premiere what Witch Queen entailed. And I'm going to put the spoiler alert there anyway, just in case. So if you don't want to listen to it now, shut off. But we already knew that the Hive were going to gain control of the Light, which meant that they were able to use the abilities Guardians have. So Arc, Void, Solar. My God, does that mechanic change the game up so much?
Yeah,
it's funny because Ray and my wife did not know that. Even though it was
I did.
even though
I
it's
was having it stumped when she was playing it. I was like, oh, okay. I'd seen all the adverts. I knew what was
okay.
going.
Becky somehow managed to, like, my wife Becky. She's somehow managed to watch the adverts and not pay attention. So she was like, "Oh my God, these Hive have Guardian abilities," and I was like, "How do you not know that?" And she goes, "You knew," and I was like, "Well, yeah."
I was trying not to give any spoilers to her as she was playing it, so I was just like,
So
"Oh, wow,
that was kind of fun. It was like a genuine shock for her.
I think the other thing as well is, you touched on it there, Ewok, the opening mission. Every other DLC we played so far, there has literally been one opening mission, like, oh, go speak to Eris Morn on the moon. Okay, speaking to her, now what are we going to do? Go and do this one mission that'll take you right into the heart of the main DLC. You'll capture 30-second footage or something. I'll kick you out, and then that's it. You've got to go and buy the DLC to do anything else. And you're like, oh, shit, okay. Not with Witch Queen at all. It's like one mission, tickle your taste buds. Second mission, okay, I'm liking this. Third mission, and you start to get a little bit of taste of what the actual campaign involves, with a little bit of open world as well, which is what I liked. And you're like, okay, I'm getting invested here. And then, fourth mission, and by the fourth mission, you're like, okay, I'm actually playing this here. And then suddenly, bam, paywall. Like, no.
The other thing for me with it, though, as well as the story and the story, I personally think it's better than Taken King. Personally, that's my opinion on it. It is better than the Taken King.
Well, bear in mind, I've only done the introduction missions. Okay, I'm already going to go out on a limb and say it's the best DLC I've played, because I haven't even paid for it yet, and I'm 4 missions in. I've retrieved weapons and ammo and armor from it and stuff like that I'm going to use and need. I've got the Void 3.0 ability, because you get that out the gate, and you're like, wow, okay, they're actually, if this is just the introduction, what's the main campaign like?
Yeah, but like, apart from the campaign, there is so much to do.
Yeah,
there is so much. If you turn on Destiny and say, I'm getting bored, you're not looking, because there's a little bit of a change up in some of the PvP stuff. So there's now like freelance Gambit. So if you don't want to jump into Gambit and go against pre-made squads, you can go freelance, and it's just, you're in there, no pre-made squads, whatever. If Gambit's your thing. PsyOps Battlegrounds is a new like seasonal activity, which is a very interesting take on some of the PvE stuff. I've really enjoyed. I've not dipped into that much, but I've really enjoyed it.
I haven't got access to that.
Yeah, and then the Throne World, without going into too much, is one of the best environments I have seen in a Destiny game ever.
Beautiful.
And I've spent a lot of time in between missions just running bounties for, the NPC. And I'm not going to go into the spoilers of the NPC or anything, but just running bounties for the Throne World NPC, doing some of the deep site stuff, the stuff that I could do, and just exploring it. And it's an absolutely stunning little sandbox that they've made.
For me, it feels like that mission on Halo when you're introduced to the flood, when you're just dropped into that swamp.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, what's going on here? And then next thing it's like when the Lucian Hive turned up and they all got the light. For me, that's what it felt like when that big sort of like giant nose bag full of blowing up crap felt like when the flood attacked me. Those little puffballs flying. That's what that felt like. I was like, oh, this is really good. Ray drew comparisons to Dagobah, Yoda's homeworld. Have I got it right?
I was expecting Yoda to be sitting up on a little branch somewhere, like, come here, Guardian. Guardian, come here, you.
But it's, for me, it's definitely it's definitely one of the best like areas that they've introduced. Aesthetically, they've smashed out of the park. From the throne world itself to the swamplands to the pyramid parts, it's amazing. It's up there. It makes me excited for the partnership they've struck with Sony. If I'm going to see this in other forms of media, if this is going to be fleshed out, then I truly think there is like a Halo sort of competitor now.
Yeah. Now, when a shout come back and play for those returning players, don't worry about your light level. That's one thing I need to put across right now. Everyone will start at 1358 or 1359 or something like that. So you're starting at a competitive level already.
Yeah.
And then
the gear climb actually isn't that hard.
Yeah.
The gear climb up to about 1520. The gear climb is not that hard at all.
You're getting stupid.
But also as well in terms of like what's been so amazing about this, again, no spoilers, but the new strikes.
Some of the best in the game.
Yeah,
they've ever done.
So enjoyable. One of them's a bit lengthy, but at no point do you think, "Oh, this is dragging." It's just like, this is cool. This is really good. I enjoyed every second of the campaign. I've enjoyed every second of just running around the throne world. I'm one of those that I'll hit the story beats of Destiny. I will always hit the story beats. I do like the story. I like the lore. I like the gameplay, but I tend to kind of fizzle off a little bit, admittedly. But I'm feeling myself kind of being rejuvenated in my love for Destiny with this latest expansion, and I've been playing a lot in between streams, and to the point where I'm like looking and trying to do content that I've never tried to do before. So I've never really aspired to do all the dungeons. I've never done raids. Now I'm saying to Junky, so if we can get together and get myself sorted, do you want to run Grasp of Avarice? Do you want to run a couple of dungeons? I'm actually like, I'm in.
See, I had the ability to run raids in the past. I've never really run the dungeons per se. But I've run raids in the past. I had raid gear, many an hour spent doing Callus and stuff like that, and I love all that. But I'm really wanting to get back into it now, like to a sense of raid used to be end game, and then anything post raid was you just kind of fleshing out your character, getting ready for whatever they drop next. Now you've got obviously you've got Crucible, you've got Gambit, you've got Vanguard strikes, you've got bounties, dailies, you've got stuff for the weaponsmith, you've got
crafting,
crafting, the big and the introduction of the glaive,
a new weapon archetype, which is probably the most experimental thing they've done since maybe like gravity hammers in Halo. It's nice to see them like dipping back into that foundation where they used to experiment with different archetypes.
So for nobody knows what a glaive is. Essentially, it's a staff with a big blade on the end and a gun barrel. Now, when I first started using it, I was speaking to my clan that I play with, the Annoyed Raiders, and I was like, this is amazing, this is cool. Why didn't they make it third person, like when you're using a sword or something like that? And then one of them said, well, it's because it needs a reticle, because it obviously shoots as well. And then the more
Free
you
peek
play
as well.
yeah, and essentially, the more you get into it and the more you play with it, the more you realize it isn't just a melee weapon. Using the power of the cannon in it as well is crucial, and it can rip shields. So it's great to rip a shield down and then get in close melee with the glaive. And the ability you now have, I mean, obviously Junky can go into it more because he's really deep dived into it, but you can create your own weapon now with your own rolls. So no more of this like farming for god rolls.
So far, there's I think there's only about 10 patterns. So your pattern is your weapon, the archetype, what gun it is. So far, there's only about 10 to come with the game. More will be added. Hopefully, I'm hoping it's going to be one of those things where every gun has the ability to be a pattern weapon where you can make it and build it, because that's what the grind is. Ultimately, that's what your grind will be. That's the good thing about Destiny now is 1360 is your hard cap. Without your power levels, but you don't need to get 1360. If you're a new player and you're coming into this, the only reason you'd want to get 1360 and proper grind out your levels is if you wanted to do
1560.
stuff like 1560, Grandmaster Nightfalls, legendary raids. You can do normal Nightfalls. That's still a challenge. You still get good stuff. You can do normal raids. It's only the people that want to play the top tier stuff, and the only difference is the difficulty spike and bragging rights and seals. I don't think it's necessary. It's not necessary for the average player to get to 1560. So weapon crafting will probably be one of the grinds that you'll get into, and that's the only downside I can see with the new game is weapon crafting. I'm not going to go too deep into it because we'll be here all night. It's more materials. It's what Destiny does worse. Adding stupid economies to the game that convolute. There's about 16 different materials involved, and the way to get them is akin to the old level up your weapons. So you get red ring weapons, and you got to kill enemies to level it up in a specific way, or do activities, and then you'll break that weapon down, or break an aspect of that weapon down to get a material to use in crafting, and it's not necessary. And there was a bug with to get some of the patterns, you needed to do certain activities, and there was a bug where it wasn't dropping. So people were putting eight hours into an activity to get a drop, and it wasn't happening. 10 hours is a bug. So that was a bit crap. So yeah, we're excited to get into dungeons and a bit more raiding, and hopefully when Ben gets it, we'll be doing some of the later dungeon graphics. So maybe a little council Twitch, bit of jolly cooperation.
Council.
Oh, jolly cooperation. That sounds like a segue. That sounds like a segue. Does anyone praise the sun here? Or should I say, praise the tree?
Don't get this is all you, because again,
praise the ring.
anyone finger butthole?
Butthole?
Oh no. Anyway, chat, if you can't decrypt what they're saying, there happens to be another little game that might have dropped this week. Now, Bandai, is it Bandai? Namco, no, Konami, is it?
Bandai, from Software, Bandai, from Software.
That's it, from it, okay. Now, normally, they do games that make you cry and rock yourself to sleep. And they're good, but you've got to really be into that sort of game. With the new release, they are trying to open the gates up a little bit more to invite more people in. Of course, we are on about Elden Ring. This is dropped with the mind of the Lord of the Rings, not Lord of the Rings, what's his name? Game of Thrones fella as well. George R.R. Martin, heavily involved in there and some of the lore behind it. This is Dark Souls with whipped cream, cherries, and sprinkles on top, for better use of a word. Now, I haven't played it, and I am one of those people that tends to stay away from the Dark Souls games because my experience of them in the past, I just can't do it. I'm too much of a button basher and a melee person. I like the Fables and the Skyrims where you can get away with that sort of thing. You have to be finesse with this sort of game, and that's just not me. There's a reason I play a barbarian in D&D. Come on. Now, you two gentlemen have for better use of a term, gone balls deep with this. Elden Ring. What are we looking at here?
Basically, it's for me. It's Dark Souls. I wouldn't say Dark Souls light, but it's Dark Souls lighter. It's by no means
Dark Souls.
by no means easy mode. So for me personally, it feels like a mishmash of a few different like concepts. So it's got your Breath of the Wild with the open world, which is new for Dark Souls because usually it's a twisting labyrinth of set designs that all bleed into each other perfectly, Metroidvania roguelike style. This is just turned that on its head, and it's just gone. Here's a massive sandbox. Do what you want. So before, where it was like a barrier to entry, where it literally did gatekeep people, people would play the game and go, "Oh, got to the asylum demon. Oh my god, I can't kill this thing. It's massive. It's just killing me in one hit. I haven't got the patience or the finesse, like you said, to play this game." And they turn it off, and that'd be the end of it. Now you can come to a boss and go, "Oh my god, I can't do it so hard." And it's like, "Oh, it's fine. I'll just go south." Literally go south on the map, and you'll spend 10 hours sort of like going into caves and making your own stories, making your own adventures. Find another boss. Oh, I can't do this. Boss is too hard. I'll go west. It's literally play your own adventure. It's like your own personal D&D. Like you find your own fun. And the co-op's a lot easier this time. It's a lot easier to jump into games and to find people. For me, it feels, and I think this is why you'll like it, Ben. It feels like Dark Souls, Breath of the Wild, Monster Hunter. It's got all that good stuff. It truly feels like the world is the world of Elden Ring is your oyster. And even if you want to play by yourself, you can summon NPCs in game that are actually truly worthwhile to have. They take aggro. It feels like a good, not an MMO, but it feels like it's a brilliant RPG.
Right, well, I'm going to ask some of the questions then. I know that the community have been asking in general. So, for me, if I'm not normally a Dark Souls player, should I play Elden Ring?
I'll let Ray take this one because Ray is not normally a Dark Souls player.
Yeah, so I've kicked into Dark Souls in the past. I've not like been an avid kind of player of the game like Junky has in the past. So I'll kind of dip into them and dip out, and usually sometimes gets to the point where I get a bit frustrated. And as Junky says, just stop playing it for a long, long time. I had the chance to boot it up when I was at Junkies, and I played through like the opening, like kind of tutorial cave type thing, and I was like, okay, right, this feels very Souls-like. You're having to get your timings on like your dodges, your parries, things like that. Again, the finesse thing, and I can do that to a certain extent. So I was like, yeah, grand. And then I got out into the open world, and the moment you step out, it's like, wow. And that open world bit that Junky was just explaining about, like, oh yeah, you kind of hit a brick wall against this boss here. I can go elsewhere. I can kind of have a look around. Mixed together with the fact that you can find these ashes, which means you can summon, once you get the summoning bell, you can summon these spirits to help you. As someone who wasn't an avid Souls player, that for me was like, wow, this game is playable now. For me, this game could be beatable now. And actually, that drew me in. So I found a boss in a cave, and I had my summoning bell, and I summoned this pack of wolves. And all of a sudden, with me and the wolves, I was able to take down this boss in a way that I'd never been able to do on a Souls game before. So I was like, okay, I am in. And then I come out of that cave, walked around a little bit, found another boss, got one-shotted. I'll come back to you later. Went off exploring again. And I spent a lot of my time just looking around, trying to pick my fights. And I loved it. So
yeah, I can imagine why that would be drawing for someone, especially like me. You know, like you're saying there, the ability to go, I'm at this point, can I get past? No. Rather than going, right, well, that's it. I need to turn around, grind out, get some more gear, and come back and try and do it again. Like a level of Cuphead or Crash Bandicoot or something like
that. Yeah, I'm gonna go kill a lot of things, get more rooms. I'm gonna level up. I'm gonna see if I can find some more ashes that might help me against this, with the summon against this boss. Maybe upgrade my weapons and my armor, and then I'm going to come back and try it. So that sold it to me. Now I'm not going to be able to pick it up for a while, but the first opportunity that I can, I'm gonna get it. And this is what thinking it to me. I came home and I was like, right, I can't play that, but what can I play that's like that, or that's going to give me that same kind of feel at the moment, but without the open world, obviously. And I re-downloaded The Surge, which is like a Souls type game in like a technological setting. And I've been dabbling in a bit of that, and I've kind of pushed through a little bit of the bits that I thought were hard last time I was on it. Just to kind of keep me finger with the finesse, the timings, and I'm like, yeah, I want Elden Ring. And one of my friends, Mike, he's been playing it, and he's never really been a Souls player, I don't think. He is absolutely in love with the game. Absolutely in love with the game.
That brings me now to the next question. So, if I did find Dark Souls and that hard, and I didn't go back to them for that reason, should I give Elden Ring a go? And you've kind of already answered that then.
I think I'd say yeah. I'd say definitely give it a go. From what we've already said, like, you know, that discoverability, that exploration, that like make your own game. There's other aspects that make it like more appealing to someone that's like not played the game. I would say that some of the enemies are the bosses don't pull any punches. Some of the bosses are still that Dark Souls archetype where it's like, oh my god, this boss is so hard.
But
you need to go away.
Draw in the people. Are you Dark Souls fans and that they want that sort of difficulty of boss, so that you're getting a taste of that as well?
So, but they are manageable. Like, you know, like you said, there's so much to do other than like the hard bosses that you can come back when you feel ready, when you've perfected your skills. Like, you can go away, and I'd say the enemies are slightly easier. So you can cut your teeth on easier enemies. You can hone your weapons. There's so much more sort of like availability and builds and play styles in the game now, with the things like ashes, with the summons, and there's also like arts. I think it's called arts that like you can apply to your weapons to change how they sort of feel. So in the game's always scaled with how you make your build. So there's more sort of playability in that. If you want to play like a dexterous, sort of fast, nimble character, or a pure strength character, or a magic based character, there's more sort of maneuverability in that, in what you can do. And obviously, because there's so many different sort of like side quests and so much stuff in the game, you can get weapons that are sort of OP from early on. So whereas in the past, a new player would be limited to, I've got this longsword and it doesn't really do much and it doesn't really scale because it's like a base game weapon. You can get an end game weapon near enough from the beginning and perfect it, like change it, modify it to your play style. And then when you go to that boss, it's not as hard as it used to be. It's still hard if you want to make it hard. I mean, even things like on the original Dark Souls, you'd get invaded all the time by other players. Now you will only get invaded by another player if you summoned another player to help you play the game. So if we're playing together, then we can be invaded. If we're not playing together, it's like your offline game. It's like, you know, you're not going to get invaded. So you don't. In the past, people would go, "I just play offline because I don't want to be invaded by people. I don't like PvP." You don't need to do that now. You don't need to lose that aspect of the game. You won't be invaded unless you physically bring people into your game.
Okay, so another question to pose is, let's say I'm normally a sports shooter kind of thing and I've dabbled in a few RPGs. Should I be looking at Elden Ring as like my first deep dive into an RPG? Or would you say that it's more along the advanced line of an RPG?
I'd say if you were looking at like an RPG and you were coming from like a background of Halo, COD, that kind of thing, FIFA, RPG wise, I think probably Assassin's Creed is like RPG light. It's, you know, it's tailored, it scales with you. It's not as in depth. The thing about Dark Souls is, even though this is the most accessible one of the whole series, it still doesn't hold your hand in terms of like story. It's very sort of like, if you're a D&D player, you'll love it, you'll appreciate it because it's build your own adventure. There are side quests in the game, but it's again, there's no notebook, there's no notepad. You need to sit there and like have a notepad by ear and go, oh, Siegfried the Mighty wants me to go to this place. And then when you're eventually exploring, you might find it and go, oh, didn't someone want me to go there and do something? And then you can look back in your notes and go, oh, yeah, this guy. Otherwise, you might get a bit lost.
So it on a scale of 1 to 10 of accessibility for a beginner, it's more along like a 5 and above.
I'd definitely say it's about 6 or 7, yeah, for a complete novice. And
if you're looking to try your new RPGs, no. If you're looking for a first step into the Souls world,
yeah,
yes, definitely. Like I say, that open world bit just changes up. So if you remember, like the first, like Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, as Junky says, that everything's linked up, but early on it's very linear. You've got to find the ways to link it all up. So if you got stuck on a boss or you weren't powerful enough to take on a boss, you'd have to find a loop that you could do to kill lots of things, lots and lots of times, and go round that loop over and over and over and over again to level up, to be able to then take on that, which then becomes boring. And
whereas in this,
you're going to take on that, but on this, you can't get past that boss. That open world is the thing that sells it for a new Souls player for me. Is that can't get past them. That is absolutely fine. I'll go and see what's like south, west, north, whichever way I want to like point my horse and run. I can go and do that, and I think that is the big savior when it comes
from having been playing the Souls games and stuff. You've just hit a major point there. A mount that was never really a thing, was it previously?
Yeah. No. That's a big sort of like big change, and that's where the comparisons for like Skyrim, Breath of the Wild come in. I'd say it's more Breath of the Wild. If I had to sum up this game, I would say this is Breath of the Wild for adults.
Ooh.
It has that like brilliant sort of like openness to it. Some people, like the uneducated eye, they'd say, "Oh, it's just vast and there's nothing there." You need to know. You need to like go in with that mindset. I want to explore this world. I want to breathe this world. If you just want to like go A to B, it's probably not the game for you. But if you do like that, the option of exploration, there's so much there. There's so much hidden. Like I've got to the first boss and then I died a few times and I've gone, you know what, I'm going to go away. And I've spent more time like enjoying just exploring the first area. In the forums I've been in, there's people that spend 20 hours just in the first area, just running around. And like that's completely optional. You don't need to do that. It's not like you're not forced to. It's not you're not going to get handicapped if you do that. That's just people enjoying it for what it is, spending that much time in it. Like you don't need to. You don't need to get everything. It's entirely how you want to play it. Ray watched me do a boss the other day that was fairly difficult. But the satisfaction of killing this optional boss and then the weapon I got from it, oh my god. And the weapons, again.
It's a live service game then?
Yeah. What do you reckon, Ray? Live service? Not live service.
Not in the typical thing. Like it's an online game.
Sense. Yeah.
But it's not can be played off in the sense that we know with like Destiny and stuff like that. No.
It can be played offline. But yeah, it's you don't need to bring people into your game. You physically have to like bring them into your game, or you can enter their game. That's another thing I've always enjoyed about the Souls games. You can jump into another person's world. So if you get to a boss and you think, "Oh, I can't do this boss," or "I don't want to keep like dying in my own world and losing my your currency," because if you like old Souls games, it's got that roguelite element where if you die twice, you lose what you had. In terms of currency, unless you go back and retrieve it, you've really got one chance. But if you get to a boss and go, I really can't do this, or I really want to like progress and I want to do this boss, you can jump into another person's world and help them complete that boss, and then you can get the experience of like his moveset as well as like the rewards of taking him down with another person.
So just to clarify there with that one, argument's sake, let's say I jumped into your world and we fought a boss together and I defeated it in your world, I'd still then have to come back to my world and defeat them.
Yeah, but you'd come back to your world with whatever you gained from my world. So whether that's an item or currency. The other thing as well is like, unlike Destiny and other live service games, if you come to my world or I came to your world, I can drop items on my person and you can take them back.
Ah, okay.
So that's a bit.
So for someone like me now, I mean, I won't lie, you've tickled the taste buds a lot. I like the Souls games. I just found them a little bit too difficult. The finesse sometimes wasn't there for me. I don't know. Being honest, it's a long time since I've played one. I think the power of the hardware as well might massively improve it for me. But ultimately, it wasn't advertised as a Souls title. It hasn't been said it belongs in a series, but it's blatantly the missing brother of the set.
I think they're all tenuously linked. I would not be surprised if it's like a sort of, Skyrim, Fallout, Starfield, loosely connected shared universe. Because some of the enemies that appear in the game are enemies that are shared across the Soulsborne world. I've started to notice. Yeah. But yeah, I suppose I should point out a few negatives, and there is not many really. The big negative is the performance issues across all platforms. So PS5 is where it apparently runs best, and even that with caveats, it runs best on PS5 if it's played in PS4 mode with a checkerboarded 4K step up, and that's where you get your 60 frames per second.
Oh,
but again, you're sacrificing that fidelity for your frames. On Xbox, you can either play in 30 frames per second or you can play native 4K, but even the native 4K runs at 45 to 50 frames per second. Or you can play, in 30 frames per second locked. Or the one sort of like upside the Xbox has, and it only sort of like works for a very, very small minority, is with the VRR. This is where the Xbox Series X comes into its own. The VRR will like smooth out the frames, so it feels like you're getting a 60 frames per second. You don't get that choppy frame. It smooths out, so it never feels like it's running less than 60. For me, I found it runs perfectly. I'm lucky. I've got an OLED TV and I've HDMI 2.1, so I can use the VRR. But I know it's not massively utilized by most of the people that have the consoles because it's very expensive to have all the equipment to go with it. And then the worst performance, I believe, is on PC, where from what I've seen, unless you've got anything less than like a 2070 GPU, you're going to run into a lot of issues, such as the big one, NPCs being completely invisible.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
Unless this is like Miyazaki's sort of interpretation of hard, the true Dark Souls experience. And it's intentional. Yeah, it's not playable, and it's a shame. It's a massive shame. So hopefully they'll sort that out. So the only other issue I had, I couldn't play any of the online features for the first 3 days because there was an issue with calibration updates and the app update. So they're both running on the same one, and the calibration was one ahead, but it wouldn't let me download it. The only workaround I could find was to log in onto a separate profile and then download the latest calibration and applied it to my profile. But then that's been patched out now, so it doesn't really matter. But that was my initial experience, and that's why I didn't play for the first 3 days, because I wanted like everything.
And another pro that you told me about, Dan, and for me, as somebody who suffers from anxiety and stuff like that, I don't really like randoms in a lot of my games. And so I wouldn't kind of put a summon down in an old Dark Souls game or anything like that. But when you mentioned Junky about the summons in this as well, you can password lock your summon. So I could say to Junky, hey, I'm having trouble with this bit. I'm going to put a summon down here. This is the password. Can you jump in if you've got time and help me? And I know that the person who's jumping in is Junky. It's not anyone else. It's not a random. I'm not going to get grief messages because I'm not up to speed. So that I think, from my perspective, I thought that's a really good touch. I can play with my friends and not have to worry about any level of toxicity or, I'm not saying that I would get that, but it's a possibility.
I mean, the good thing about it, like the good thing about all the Souls games really is like the etiquette has always been very similar to Monster Hunter, where like people don't really talk on comms anyway. Everything's done through gestures.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been like the best part about it. I mean, I was telling someone about when I played Dark Souls 3. So I fell asleep because I'm terrible. I've got narcolepsy when I play games. So I was playing early hours on Dark Souls 3 and I fell asleep. And I woke up and I'd been invaded. And there was a guy, when you've been invaded because they got red. They were like a red avatar. So there's a guy sat next to me on the game. And I don't know how long I've been asleep, but he was just sat next to me. And I sort of went, oh Christ, I've been invaded here. And I sort of stood up and I pulled my shield up. And he stood up and sort of like bowed. And I bowed. And then we fought each other. And then he just messed, and then I think he killed me. And at the end, he went, "I've been here for 20 minutes, and I realized you were AFK, but I just figured like I wasn't going to kill someone that wasn't going to fight me back, so I thought I'd just wait." And if it,
wow, that's a rare.
I was like, wow. I was like, and that's for me. That's what's always how the Dark Souls community has felt. That sort of like it's, and I'm glad. Elden Ring's opened it up to a larger audience so people can experience that community. Like being on the forums for Elden Ring has been electric. People on there discussing builds. It does feel like the monster world in that sense, that community where everyone discusses builds and like swords and weapons, the archetypes and what they're doing, what they're putting into. People asking for help on certain bosses. I know that will appeal to you, Ben, as a massive Monster World fan.
I was going to say, yeah, so From Software now teaming with Bandai for this one, are they looking to start chipping away at that pedestal that Capcom's on with the Monster Hunter series?
I think it will always be a high sort of bar to entry. Miyazaki's come out and said in many press conferences, he's never going to make an easy mode. It's always going to be, this is it. This is probably as easy as you're going to get it. But I do think it does open the door for people to come in and go, I can play these games, or I can, I feel like I can go back and play Dark Souls. But it's nice to see that like they've stepped up the cooperation elements of it. Because again, like I keep drawing comparisons to Monster Hunter, because it is a big co-op game. The best, I think, Monster Hunter plays best when you play co-op.
Oh god, yeah. Even
there has been that toxic element of the Dark Souls community where people think like if you're using people to come in and summon, then you're not playing the game properly. If you're not doing it by yourself, you're not playing the game properly. And like I think this is sort of like a big fuck up, big finger to those elitists saying you play the game how you want to play the game. There's no gatekeeping.
I've already seen a couple of things about people who use summons in Elden Ring aren't playing it properly on Twitter.
Yeah. I think. It's made it easy to summon because I feel like this is how they want you to have that option. They want people to be able to summon.
Yeah, if they didn't want you to do it, there wouldn't be an option in the game. We've always said that.
And some of the best stories come from when you bring other people into your game.
Yeah. I've met a load of people. I know you've drawn on the Monster Hunter thing, but I've met a great community of guys. Like Infovenom is one of the guys I've met playing Monster Hunter, and now I support him in his streams and stuff, and I've met his community, and there's times I've gone to them for help when I'm stuck on something. They've come in, they've helped me out and stuff, and you can see that community sort of now going to develop around the Elden Ring community, which I think is massive. But yeah, so go on then. Let's go back quickly to Witch Queen, dead quickly. Out of 10 gavels, how many are we going to give Witch Queen?
15.
I'll be more grounded. I'd give Witch Queen I'd give Witch Queen a 9 gavels out of 10.
Yeah.
And that's only because the story is 10 out of 10. Void 3.0, I'd say 10 out of 10. The little things that let down, that lose the 1 gavel, would be the weapon crafting is not quite there. It's the right direction. It's just not quite there. Changes to Gambit. Solo, yeah, happy with freelance. That's good. Other things we're going to touch on. Somehow they've made a mode worse than it already was. Considering people thought it was the worst mode, somehow they've made it worse.
From what I've experienced so far, I'm happy to score it 8 out of 10 because I haven't experienced the full palette yet. However, what I played compared to what I had played, amazing. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, if I'm being actually serious about it, I'd probably say 9 gavels and a handle.
Ooh,
So not quite a 10, but for my experience of it, it's about a 9.5.
Cool. Now Elden Ring, quickly then, boys. You two, this is all you.
10 out of 10 for me so far. It's everything I could have hoped for and more. I'm just loving it. I'm just absolutely. I'm like everyone else. I'm not a convert because I've always loved the Souls series, but like it feeds that exploration for me. It feeds that sort of like D&D bug, that co-op. It feels like some of the best genres mixed in for me. They've done everything right, apart from performance issues, which I know they'll patch out. It's not ideal, but I've not experienced any of them apart from online for the first 3 days. Everything else has been fine. So for me, it's got to be a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I loved every second of it. 10 out of 10. It's made me want to jump into it, and it's made me want to pick it up. I didn't find any aspect of it that I didn't like. 10 out of 10.
Cool. On the back end of all that, I'm going to say with Grid Legends, I'm going to give that a 7 out of 10. It's a really good racing game. It ticks a lot of boxes. However, there is so much more they could do with it. And when you're going against the market that Gran Turismo and your Forzas and stuff, there's a lot there. Well, I think that brings to close and to order another session. Thank you for listening along with us, for watching along with us. Don't forget, guys, throughout all this, you'll have seen it along the bottom. Our handles will have been popping up within our socials as well. Make sure you hit us up on those. No doubt you'll catch myself streaming over on Twitch most nights at 8 p.m. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Ewok.
Schedule's due to go out today, so if you check out my page, obviously the social bit at the bottom, check out my page. Schedule will be out on Sunday, so it will already be out by the time this drops.
Cool. Dan, are we going to see you return back in front of the camera?
Well, I post daily on my Instagram. I post at least one thing a day on my Instagram, whether it be a meme, video, or something else. But you know what? I might actually jump back on Twitch this week. I think I've got a few free days. I'm thinking about maybe doing one stream.
Elden Ring.
No, probably a Destiny. I might do a bit of control on PvP. I don't know. See what I feel like.
And I'm going to leave you with this one final "Can you believe it" moment. Now, I laugh. We've already slated Call of Duty to death. We know Call of Duty Warzone 2, it needs to be a saving grace, it needs to be a different engine. But how bad is it when the development studio who've been deliberately building hack software went quiet while they tuned their new tool around Ricochet, #trademark for us, and then came out the woodwork the other day and said, guys, guess what? We've beat Ricochet, and best of all, we're going to make the hacks free.
Oof.
Oh.
Can you believe
And
it?
on that bombshell. Order!
And
I've been Judge Junky. Thanks for being here.
I've been Judge
Judge
Volio.
Ewok.
Good night.
Take care, guys.
Take care, everyone.